members of the Governor's Media Team, on behalf of all of us, Honorable Commissioner, I welcome you to this, what we call the Friendly Media Chat. This idea was conceived by the Chief Press Secretary, alongside the Deputy Chief Press Secretary, because we as members of the Governor's Media Team found out that a lot goes on within the ministries, parastatals, agencies of government. Now, a lot more are not going out to the public. And so, most times you want to engage the press. There are usually the devil's advocate, there are insinuations, there are attacks, questions come in ways that you find out that some of the people who ask these questions are biased. Now, this is a very objective media team, part and parcel of government, that seeks to know the extent of work done, being planned to be done by this administration. And so each interaction with the commissioner enriches us with deeper understanding of what is going on in this government. This is like a brotherly, sisterly discussion. So your experience is rich. And of course, the new ministry you are heading now, a lot is going on there. Commerce, industry, wealth creation. So please feel free. This seat there's ice block on it. It's not hot. It's very cool seat. Very calm, calculated. Whatever information you want to give us, even if you want statistics, documents, and they are not here, these are things we can do later so that our work, pushing into the media, will be very, very authentic. The ones we've done before, people are shocked at the level of work that this administration is doing. And you're in a very good position to talk to us about what you're doing now and even touch the ministry you have worked on before, that's transport.
So naturally, I would like to know what this administration has done to bolster that advantage we have in commerce in the past 6 years or 7. I would also like to know what has been done in the aspect of organizing the transport sector so that it could be very useful. The potentials out of that ministry would be tapped and be put to good use by the administration. Thank you very much.
Like you rightly said, that transport and commerce seems to be symbolic to also in Anambra State. Geographically, Anambra is the second smallest state in Nigeria in terms of landmass, second to Lagos. Strategically, we are the gateway to the southeast, south-south, and some part of north-central. So that means that, and commercially, Anambra is the commercial hub. I think between Anambra and Lagos, if not for the seaport in Lagos, Anambra should be number 1. And you know, in any place you have commercial activities, there are need for movements of goods and services. So both of them are synonymous. For us in Anambra, transport sector is very, very important because traffic management is a major challenge here. Let me give you an example. 1,000 fuelers are going to Enugu State from Lagos. They must pass through Anambra. If 500 trailers leave the Lagos wharf to Ebonyi, Imo, Abia, Rivers, they must pass through Anambra. So the traffic management, 1, our roads, 2. So that gave rise to the need that His Excellency Governor Obiano, when he came in, that was why he made trade and commerce and transportation one of his key pillars. Key pillars in the sense that we are Igbos and something is symbolic about us. You know, can I say that trade and commerce is in our DNA, and it's symbolic to us because it has some emotional attachment to our history. Because after the Civil War, when we had nothing, our civil servants were disengaged. We lost our properties to the issue of abandoned properties. We had nothing. We were able to survive simply because of trade and commerce, because we were so committed to it. And greater percentage of the technocrats we have today, we are trained from the process of trade and commerce. So that was why His Excellency and trade and commerce also helped us so much as regards to employment. I can give you the analysis. Last 2 weeks I went to local to commission that their market register that I was done. I met over 5,000 youths gainfully employed on their own. So what would have happened to us if we don't have that platform? The insecurity in the Northeast today could be traced to unemployment. We have lesser problem here because our youth have that platform where they can just go in and in one way or the other have something to do. And let me tell you what determines the economic stability of every state is social stability. And the paramount appendage of social stability is security. So simply because His Excellency Governor Obiano ensured that security in another state, that is the catalyst that will make every other thing work. Okay, like you cannot talk about development in an unsecured environment. You have to have that social stability, which has to do with security, before you can even plan. Let me give you an example. In Monguno local government in Borno State today, they are not talking about anything and say security force. When the governor cannot access Baga, will he be talking about their development in Baga? He has to first of all access Baga in Borno to be able to talk about development. But His Excellency came here and looked at the most paramount thing we needed to be able to function as a state. Once that security is there, that is the first thing you need for you to plan, because that is the only thing that will encourage investors to come inside and invest. That security, they won't come. So, coming here as a governor and first of all decided to tackle the issue of insecurity and brought us to a stage where we can say that Anambra is the safest state in Nigeria. That's the greatest platform you can give to us in this geographical part of the world. But that is will be the standpoint for us to start doing other things. Like today, we can say that we are supposed to celebrate maybe 3-4 years of non-violent crime. When I say violent crime, you know, crime is divided into two. When it has to do with gun and this thing, it becomes a violent crime. But burglary and other ones. So, for violent crime, is now history. Stories of banks being robbed or people being robbed are just there today for historical rehearsal, but they no longer happen. So in a situation where the security agencies in Anambra State, their security strategy is how to make sure that the criminal doesn't come back, while others are planning how to deal with the criminal. But here our strategy is, well, now what are we going to do to make sure that they don't come back? When we talk about the development, people do think about only physical things that you can see. But some can come as abstract, where you cannot feel it. But organizing the society, a civilized society is simply a society that has respect to the rule of law. Simple. Maintenance of rule of law is what makes a society. And everything goes on its own. So, but when you have a state of anarchy, where nothing goes, you can talk about the development of civilization. So, what His Excellency did when he came here first was to change the mindset of Obiano. To see that you don't just always think of what the state can do for you, but what you can, your contribution to the progress of the state. To change that orientation, first of all, was a major thing. So that is why when we came in, as Commissioner for Transport, I traveled to Lagos. So because I saw the only way you can prove is when you're ready to learn. But when you claim to know everything, then you won't have the opportunity to know what you don't know. Understand me?
Yeah, clearly.
So when I came, I looked at Lagos, I looked at the comparative analysis of Anambra and Lagos. One, they are small, we are small. Two, there is heavy traffic in Lagos, there is heavy traffic in Anambra State. So they have the same challenge we had. The population in Lagos is very high, with a very small landmass. The population in Anambra also is very high, with a very small landmass. So when I looked at the comparative analysis, I said, okay, I have to go and understand Lagos to see why they are succeeding, in as much as in everything you can't get 100%. When I got to Lagos, the governor wrote to the SAG, wrote to the SAG of Lagos State. He said, I want you in my team. Minister of Transport, Atma, trackers, and other things. When I got to Lagos, I noticed that their major source of revenue is last month, just like Atma, I will have it. Once you contravene and you are apprehended, before you leave, you must pay your tax, and they must have gotten your tax ID. That's what they do in Lagos. So, when I looked at their traffic management, I noticed that they invested heavily in transport sector. But there are other things. They have what they call Lagos State Drivers Training and Retraining Institute. I saw what they were doing. They were trying to manage their traffic through so many means. Apart from the transportation, they were trying to introduce light rail, which I think in Anambra State, that is the major thing we need also. So I visited with the Commissioner for Transport then in Lagos State. I visited everything in Lagos and I came back here to implement. First of all, His Excellency, when I came back and made my presentation at the school, he approved everything 100%. That driver training institute, before I left, the documents, we sent it to the Minister of Lands because they were looking for lands. He approved everything. We had a drawing. We went to Lagos to get the prototype. Because there, first of all, you have to do eye tests, a lot of procedures. And every year you come back again. Every year you come back again for the training. So that's why it's called training and retraining. So if there are new rules or new laws, as regards to traffic laws, they will stay there. Then after which, for us to be well organized, because some customers are coming to Anambra State, so I will have to think about their security. That was why we banned Okada at Onitsha, Greater Onitsha and Greater Oka, because the crime rate was becoming high. And we noticed that greater percentage of those crimes were committed with those motorcycles. So we have to ban it. And you can see, we banned Okada in Anambra State and we gained compliance without any upheaval. On July 1st, 2018, Okada riders willingly, because we engaged them, because when I came in, I believe in direct democracy, whereby I will invite them, discuss with them, make them to understand that what the government is trying to do is in their interest. Because even sometimes these criminals do snatch their bike, sometimes they kill them, sometimes they take them to one remote area and kill them and take the bike. So, and if you have, and the governor said, he's not banning Okada in the entire Anambra State, just Greater Onitsha, Greater Oka. So when I got them to actually understand what the state is trying to do, that it is for the interest of the state, that we must enter into a social contract whereby all of us must submit ourselves to the general will and our personal will. They left on July 1 without much enforcement. The enforcement agencies were just there to make sure that they maintain law and order. You saw what now happened in Lagos when they banned Okada. If not for COVID, the entire thing was hitting up, demonstration, riots, and so on and so forth. But nobody knew that last 2 years we banned Okada in Anambra State because they have confidence in the governor, because they believe in what the governor is doing, because everybody, we are all beneficiaries of the security that the governor provided in Anambra State. So in appreciation, when you work for the people, it's always easier for you to gain compliance. So because of the performance of the governor, it was quite easy for me as a person to tell them, please, greatest thing we achieve in this state is security. And we all are stakeholders in the state. So if you have to pay that price for us to maintain that security, and they left. The bus drivers too, I called them to a meeting, said, we want to have a uniform color. These are things that the state has attempted in the past, it didn't work. But what I did was, when I came in, everybody was telling me, they tried to ban Okada many times, it didn't work. It did not work because the strategy didn't work. So all I need to do is to change the strategy. So when I came again, they say the bus drivers, they refused to pay. They say they changed their color, was it in 2005 or so? This, that. I said no. When I called them, I started engaging them gradually. Until at this stage, I was able to succeed. You can see the new color in Anambra State all over everywhere. It was under my watch.
I would like you to specifically look at what you might consider the major achievements of the administration in the transport sector, and then again you look at those, what would stand out as the major achievements in trade and commerce.
For Minister of Trade and Commerce, first of all, His Excellency, under his watch, ATMA, the Anambra Traffic Management Agency, they were operating without a law. First of all, His Excellency took that day to House of Assembly and they passed the law legitimizing ATMA as a statutory traffic management agency. That is one. Fracas was a shadow of itself before His Excellency came in. But most times, on special occasions, His Excellency do grant free ride to the Anambra, because he has that platform. And through there, he also created employment, fleet of vehicles and buses, and the new taxi cab that was aimed at youth empowerment. Hundreds of Anambra people benefited from that. So today, they are gainfully employed, and they are meeting up to, because one thing about His Excellency is that he's a technocrat and a professional that believes in working with a structure, that believes in institutionalism. So whatever he wants to do, he creates a structure around it and allows it to flow. Then after which, you notice that for us to be organized in Anambra State, you know how our PWK used to be. But today, we created alternative parking lots to beautify Anambra and also to arrange the society in a way that if you have to enter a vehicle, you know where to go. So that was why we created the new bus terminal at Obiano. At Tazan also, there's a trailer park also there, and in some other areas. We started creating alternative parking lots because of the peculiarity of Anambra State as a transit zone for the entire Southeast and South-South. For you to go to, if you enter a bus coming from Abuja, when you get to Obiano, you now enter the one going to either Owerri or Enugu or Abakaliki or anywhere. So those are the things the Excellency did in transport. And also another thing, when I talk about security, you notice that hoodlums normally use those parks as hiding place. So that was why we have to demolish a lot of places. We demolish Kara, we demolish Obaro Industrial Hub. We also demolished Marine, and many areas. While we were demolishing all those places, there were many discoveries. Many ammunitions were recovered and destroyed. So His Excellency actually did a lot. And I wouldn't want to say that now. The greatest achievement as regards to transport is that, let me know, preempt His Excellency, but I know that very soon you can fly from Heathrow to Anambra State. You can fly from Washington, New York to Anambra State. So I wouldn't want to talk about that so much because I think it's a great surprise that His Excellency is trying to give to the Anambra. So let me not be faster than my master. But I know that if you talk about transportation in Anambra State and history, we continue to favor His Excellency for being the first and only governor to make us fly on the air from Anambra State. So I wouldn't want to talk more about that. So I don't know what again you want me to talk about in transport. Like the Onitsha River Port, we did a lot. When we noticed that something wasn't going on well, as a state, we petitioned the National Assembly. Luckily for us, that was when our brother and Afghan member Fanny Basic was at the National Assembly. That turned everything around. We are fully involved in what is going on there. Because the only thing that will help trade and commerce in Anambra State is for us to be able to clear our containers at Onitsha. And it's ongoing now, but in a very small scale. And also, so His Excellency did everything he could do. As regards to water transportation, we have our design for jetty, which he approved, but there's no how it could work. Let me give you the reason. If you do jetty in Anambra and Delta doesn't do their own, Rivers doesn't do their own, if a ship leaves Anambra, where will it anchor? It can only come back to Anambra. So it's going to be a regional arrangement whereby whatever we do in Anambra will be replicated in Delta so that it could leave from here and anchor at the other side. So while we are ready, our neighbors weren't ready as at the time we were ready. So we have to wait for them strategically to see how we can collaborate with them to be able to handle that. Because for a flight to leave a location, it has to land at another location. For a ship to leave a location, it has to land at another location. So if you have your own and they don't have their own, it's not going to work. So holistically, His Excellency did what he's supposed to do as regards to transport while I was there and is still doing it now. For trade and commerce, once we ensure security of life and properties, that's the first thing you can do for traders. Another one is that, His Excellency instituted ASBA, Anambra Small Business Agency, to help all the SMEs, small medium enterprise, and small industrialists, the big ones. So many of them, through the ASBA platform, were able to access some soft loan to be able to do their business. The only way you can support business is by providing funds, through a very conducive arrangement that will not harm their business. And that's what ASBA is there for. And I can tell you authoritatively that His Excellency disbursed over 1.something billion. But umbrellas are still using that money to do business today and making their returns. Because he did it in a well-organized structure. When I came in here, I noticed that greater percentage of our stakeholders, of our businessmen, are living in diaspora. They are more outside Anambra State. And I noticed that we'll have an advantage. Because when I looked at Dubai, it was that they concentrated more on trade. But after some time, the industries in China took over the shine from them. So you must design a platform whereby you transform that your advantage in trade to industry. So I use Dubai and China as a case study. And I noticed that why Dubai, initially everybody goes to Dubai to buy, but they do importation and sell. So they are just in trade and commerce. today, the industries in China has taken over. People are now going to China. So I traveled to Dubai, studied what was going on there. Then I noticed that if we have an arrangement whereby we can get our brothers in diaspora to come and invest in Anambra here, it will be a great deal. You know what I noticed in Dubai? At the loading point where the shipping agents were, I saw goods going to Accra, the initial Ifeanyi Okeke, Accra. The goods going to Yaoundé, Cameroon, Ebele, Okoye, Douala. The goods going to Abidjan, James Okeke, Abidjan. The one going to Gabon, Emeko Zumba, Gabon. So what does it show? And I saw them, the guy that came from Dubai, the guy that came from Ghana, the guy that came from Accra, the guy, all Igbos eating and discussing together. So that means we have that potential that our people are even controlling trade and commerce within the region. So what do we need? That's an aspect I noticed. Another aspect was that our brothers living in China had married Chinese. When you come to buy, they speak Chinese very well, so they do interpretation between you and the Chinese. So most of their in-laws owned those companies and they are willing to come down here and build their factories. So at that stage, what we need to do is, what are we going to do to give them the platform for them to come down here? And I noticed one advantage that we need to explore. The Europeans, the Americans, they took their companies to China in search of cheap labor. After about 20 years, the Chinese learned that technology. So today the Chinese had the labor
and technology.
and the technology. So that's why they've taken over. Today, when I went to China, because the policies of Trump is very hostile to Chinese businessmen, so they are planning for where else to take out their companies, produce the same thing, and still ship them to America. And the only alternative they have, as far as I'm concerned, from my discussion with them, is Nigeria. And in Nigeria, Igbo land, because they are the people that they know. Having interacted and stayed with them for a long time, there is some level of trust that is already established. And surprisingly, in Guangzhou, almost every Chinese shop you enter say Nnakeji. They are not speaking Igbo language, and they are learning. Even in school, they are teaching their children Igbo language. So I saw that as a potential we need to explore. So I came back with all those stories to His Excellency. But in everything, there is something we need to sort out, and that's why His Excellency is investing heavily in it. Power. If you give me power in Anambra State, if you have 24 hours light, or what the Chinese were demanding is at least 17 hours light. If we have 17 hours light on daily basis in Anambra State, we are made. Because we have every other thing. With that power, the second thing they demanded was that they need industrial hub already built by the state, all amenities already there, but they don't want to come and start dealing with the locals. They want to have their, or whatever they are doing, them versus the state. So that was why His Excellency is investing heavily in power in Anambra State to see how we can increase in our power generation. Once we have that, the opportunities are there waiting for us to finalize the issue of power. They are ready to come down in mass.
It appears that the jostle for positions of authority, leadership of the markets and all that, we're distracting our people from the major objective of the government to ensure their stability within the system. So once in a while you see frictions here and there. How has your ministry managed to contain the the excesses of those who have left the core business of transacting commerce to politic and align with forces that are trying to destabilize the state with respect to elections into positions of leadership of the market association and all that. We would like you to throw light on that with a view to dispelling rumors about government interference and all that. And the other leg, what is the level of collaboration? Because any government that does not have control of its IGR will have problem implementing most of its programs, no matter how laudable. How's their collaboration, help in increasing the IGR of the state and achieving most of our goals? Thank you very much.
For us here in Anambra State, we are so organized that we treat a town union as a tier of government. We equally treat market union as another tier of government in our own structure. It's a private arrangement. In Anambra State, apart from different markets having their leadership as a market, we also have a central body called ASMATA, Anambra State Amalgamated Traders Association. That amalgamation means a consortium of all the leadership that is in charge of consortium of all the markets in Anambra State. So through that channel, we interface with the traders. I think under my watch, because I have to talk with examples, I've done, under my watch, newspapers had their election, 100% free and fair, you can confirm from them. New Tire had the election, 100% free and fair, you can confirm from them. So once you allow a leadership to be according to the will of the masses, there is no how there will be problem. So I think what we're doing now is leadership according to the will of the masses. But wherever there is politicking, there must be allegation and counter-allegation. That is natural. Because there will always be a loser and a winner. And it depends on the spirit of sportsmanship on the side of the loser. I know there are two kinds of people in our markets. There's no doubt about that. There are those core traders that are there to do their trading, that are not interested in politics, that are more interested in what they make from their sales. And there are others that are politicians in the markets that are very much interested in leadership. In every tenor, whether they contest and win or they contest and lose. So, but that's part of the society. Because the society is a consortium of different kind of things. So, but as far as I'm concerned, since I came in, the relationship is quite cordial. And the elections have been very free and fair. Except during this COVID, where COVID protocols demand that we can't conduct election in any market because there won't be any ground for us to gather people. The federal government and the state government banned social or public gathering. So we can't gather people in the name of election because their life is more important to His Excellency Governor William Obiano than that election. So what we do now is caretaker. And still, that caretaker is also done according to the will of the masses. Let me use Electric Logosi to give you an example. I went there, addressed them and threw it back to them and told them to constitute their caretaker. I called the members of the Board of Trustees and all the stakeholders to constitute and give us. They went, selected some names, brought to me without positions. I said no. The names you brought to me was without any position. And they told me that they felt that if they go into that, they will have problem among themselves. They threw it back to me. I called them at the QMSP again on a stakeholders meeting. I told them, yes, that is exactly what the government is also trying to avoid. If you select now, you say that government has favored Mr. A or Mr. B. I asked them to go to one side of the QMSP, give them 2 hours to give us the positions. They came back with very hot arguments. in total disagreement and told me that, please do it yourself. Whichever way you do it, we will accept it. We cannot do it on our own. At that stage, are we not democratic?
Absolutely.
So I'm just giving you examples. So that's how we've been doing it. And that's why you can see that everywhere is now calm. If the market is calm in Anambra State, Anambra is calm, so we know that. Then on the other issue, you talked about IGR. I wouldn't want to hide that. I won't hide it. An average Igbo man is not tax compliant. They don't pay tax unless you enforce. If we wait in Anambra State for people to willingly pay their taxes, we won't get anything. We can only enforce. Today, we started on Monday. We started day before yesterday, being Monday. Our enforcement team, okay, yesterday is Monday, yeah. Our enforcement team, we divided them into 3 senatorial zones. One at Anambra North, one at Anambra Central, one at Anambra South. I will give you an example. There's a particular market in Nnewi, Funda and Bonspa. In the history of this state, they've never paid a dime. We have to sell their market yesterday for them to pay. Thank God today they are paying. But they did not just decide to pay. They have to go on demonstration here yesterday. You saw them on social media. When they were asked, they want light, they want truth. I said, how much, since you said, have you ever paid? They said no, that they thought money used to come from Abuja. Said the governor did an erosion site that would have consumed your market and spent 3.something billion. Kose would have demanded that you, out of appreciation, pay without grudge. Well, they were grudging. But when they noticed, because my own style is quite different from others, I think I understand this thing very well, that there is no need for confrontation. I won't go there when they were there. I will come there 4 a.m., seal the entire place, keep heavy armed security men around to cordon off the place. You won't even have access to that place. So you'll be somewhere else where we negotiate. As like this morning, this place is still locked, and they've gone to pay now. When you get your alert, we open it for you. So there won't be any confrontation, because if I go there when you were there will be argument. So I will allow you to do your business and go. So while you're sleeping, I will be awake and achieve what I want to achieve. Today at Mbuka Obosi, all those plazas around Mbuka have never paid that job. But they are paying today because we see them yesterday and today again. In fact, both Nnewi and Mbuka wanted to pay yesterday. But unlucky for them, the system at the bank was down. So they couldn't even pay. Their money is in the bank, but the system was down. So they were even begging us for them to box the money in our favor so we could allow them to open. But these are people that, if we hadn't done that, nobody would pay. So that is the ideology of we Igbo people. So a tax collector in Igbo land is a public enemy, because they don't even understand what you're doing. That's why they are calling Dave this, that. The young man is doing his job. He's a tax collector, and like when he was feeling bad the way I told him, Mr. Man, the day you took this job was where you accepted to be a public enemy, because for those that doesn't want to pay tax, they will always see you as a threat. So that is it. But for today, we are getting our money. For the first time for Ministry of Trade and Commerce in February, we raised 70-something million. In March, we raised 100-something million. Well, the entire 2018, we raised 200-something million. In the entire 2019, we raised 200. So if not for COVID, we would have gone beyond a billion.
I have this twin question. And there's something I took from what you said, your last comment. You said, if not for COVID. So let's go back to what happened at Ekoka, the closure of the market over non-compliance to COVID-19 protocols, and how the market got closed for 2 weeks and then got reopened. What was the impact of that closure on the economy of the state, and what does that say about the commitment of this administration to the fight against COVID-19, which is a global concern? And then, how has that closure affected compliance at other major markets and even markets in our interior villages? The second question now, quickly, is on export, your strategy. I might now, I welo mefibo, Manambra rice, Nanambra state. I think beyond the Chinese coming here, we will be exporting. So can they find them as a state to see number one in Anambra state in terms of what we produce and what we offer to the world?
During the lockdown, we knew that there would be a day we'll still reopen our markets. But for us to do that, we have to be strategic about it, because we first of all consider the challenges, what the danger it presents to the society. So His Excellency, first of all, let me give you the background. We called a meeting of all the market leaders in our state. I was in attendance with other top government officials. I think the Chief Press Secretary was also there, and you. In that meeting, we deliberated on how to open our market in line with COVID protocols. That was when we decided that for us to be able to do that, we decided that each market will have a task force, a COVID task force. But first of all, you don't just tell people to go and enforce something without them knowing what they are enforcing. So we had a training session for them at Women Development Center. Every market brought about, it depends on their capacity. Come to capacity, some brought 10, some brought 20, some brought 30. The Commissioner for Health, who has the expertise to train them that very day. In groups, in batches, because they were so many. But for you even to train them, you also have to observe COVID protocol. So we trained them in batches, and after the training, they were certified, okay, to go and man. We decided in that, part of what we said, we taught them how to, when you're counting your money, don't touch your saliva to be able to count the money, to observe social distancing, washing of hands, regular sanitizing of your hands, and also ensure that every shop has a bucket. So, and the entrances of the market, we directed them to have specific entrances where before you enter every market, they will check your temperature, you wash your hands, all those things. So before we start, we were ready. Because after the meeting, we have to give an extension of 2 weeks for us to train them, and at the stage when we felt that they've been properly trained, we opened the market. So, and when you train people and give them assignment without monitoring, they can go back and still be doing the same thing. So the closure of a coca is a confirmation that the states are actually doing what they are supposed to do. Because while we train them and open the markets, we have a monitoring team that were equally monitoring what they were doing. It was in the course of monitoring that we noticed that while so many markets were complying, the level of compliance at the coca was quite low. In fact, it was quite unacceptable to His Excellency. So that was why we closed down the coca for 2 weeks. They were crying, but we told them your life is more important to His Excellency and the money you intend to make. There must be a consequence for that closure. So we are not denying that. But that consequence is actually for good, for protection of lives and properties. So after 2 weeks, we have to retrain them again and increase their numbers. Initially, they were 20. We increased it to 40. And when we did not only close a coca, but a coca own was the one that everybody knew about because it raised so much dust. We also closed Artes Avenue. I personally wanted to close it. The shoe market at Obuduku Road, I also closed it because those ones are smaller markets. I handled that on my own without Excellency. So, but when they noticed that we were closing down the markets that were non-compliant, every other market started. And today I can tell you Not that every arrangement also comes with its own challenge, because most times those guys that were doing those enforcement, they were faced with so many challenges. Sometimes people fight them, claiming that they are this and that. No, some people feel too big to subscribe themselves to their scrutiny. But I thank God today we are doing well. Then on the issue of export, already you know that most of the things they produce in Anambra State have been exported without you even no. Let me tell you one thing. It was when the president closed the borders that I knew that all these rubber sepas and all this rubber something, that Cameroon, Ghana, Benin, all these places are coming to Anambra to buy all those things. And they have been exported to all those areas. So when the traders came, they begged me to see how we can beg Mr. President that is affecting their businesses, that their customers from Cameroon, Ghana, Togo, Benin are now going to China. So a lot of things that are being produced here have been exported without you even knowing. Unless you go into the markets, all those industries here are actually selling their products and they have been exported. It doesn't mean that those exports must be in the name of the state. We've just given them an enabling ground and environment for them to do their production. But every producer has a way of exporting his goods.
The Ekoka market, which was the subject of discussion a short while ago, you will agree with me, is congested. Probably because of the fact that it's an old market that was there when Oka was just a provincial town. Now that the status has changed and Oka is the capital of the state, there's a lot of pressure on that market. We know that this administration is going on with an international market at Isiago. That will take some time. In the interim, are there plans by the administration to have a kind of relief market or a second market in Oka that can take away some of the congestion that we currently have in a Oka market? Let me ask a second question because I don't know if the mic will come back to me again.
It won't come.
The second question is, we would like to know the markets that this administration has constructed, if any. And if that is the case, was it by PPP arrangements or did the state government bear the cost of development alone?
Actually, His Excellency has also taken cognizance of that observation. But today, Ekoka, actually, it was Ekoka when Oka was small, but it's now serving a cosmopolitan society. So, I think it's the issue of whether to take a palliative measure or a permanent solution. What we're trying to do at Isiago is a permanent solution. But you're looking at, in the interim, like you said, if you can, I think the idea of getting a relief market to augment a Ekoka might be, for some that share your view, might see it as a solution, while some will see it as trying to escalate near the nuisance. Because wherever we are going to go now, when it's time to ask them to relocate, it's another problem. And the same nuisance that some people are feeling that is being considered as a Ekoka, some part of it will now be transferred to another place. I think for we as a state, we will aggregate all our efforts and channel it to the permanent site to see how soon we can finish it for them to move in there. That's what I think as a state. I can advise if I'm asked to advise. Then you talked about construction of markets under our watch. Yeah, a lot has been done. I will give you one example. The shoe market at Nkwele Junction by Express was financed and sponsored by ASBA, Anambra Small Business Agency. when the vice president came to Anambra and visited that market, he was so excited because that gave opportunity for youth empowerment, creativity. He saw shoes that were done there. He was so excited, and they gave him some of their products as gift. So when he saw some of the things, how they make their shoes, some through manual process. If they can do nice shoes like this through manual process, federal government is donating equipment, massive one, that will help them use their machines to do their finish so that their shoes will look better. At the back of it also, you will see the textile market coming up. So we've done a lot, and you know what developed the society is the public and private sector. So when we enter into PPP arrangement with private investors, it's also because our own equity is also there. So we've signed so many MOUs which are ongoing, like the international market at Omonse. If you go there, you see it being done by Ben Oramsi. I visited the site the other day. So a lot of markets are coming up in Anambra, but we are trying to change the face of market in Anambra State. And not just that normal, because the world is changing. What we're trying to introduce in Anambra State today is e-commerce. Because days are gone when you stay in your shop and the customers will come there and meet you. Some will see you online and make their request and pay you and buy their goods. So we want to change the orientation of the traders in Anambra State from stationary to digital trading, whereby our brothers in diaspora can over there buy something in one market and they send it to their people at the village and they pay them. So we want them to come online with their businesses. So it's also another thing we're trying to do.
In Anambra, particularly in Obiano, as we have it today, there is a major component of this market that is still unavailable in Obiano as a capital, state capital. We don't have a mechanic village in Obiano generally. Almost everything we do in Obiano here is when you have issues to fix with your car, you travel to Onitsha. And I believe that mechanic village is a market of its own. You know, vis-a-vis the spare parts and the rest of them. It's not available in Obiano. Are there plans within your ministry to establish one? That is one. Secondly, the Oka building material market along Umogu axis. You know, within that area now, you could see that the federal government project is approaching towards that market. Is there any way your ministry is, planning to relocate that market to another location? Then if yes, what are the plans on ground to see if we can have what we have in Onitsha, in Oka, in respect to building material? That is two. Thirdly, the Onitsha building material was, established by Dr. Chris Nwabwezengige with the primary aim to decongest the Onitsha metropolitan as it were then. If you look at that particular territory now, the basis for bringing that market to that particular area is about to be defeated again, because there are so many other markets within that territory that gradually, if you are traveling to Onitsha now, you begin to count that junction as one of the major areas that when you pass, you now know that you are free from one particular traffic juncture to another. Then between that building material and St. Charles Borromeo, that is Nnamdi Azikiwe roundabout, one always notice that all these truck drivers, the 911 people and the rest of them, usually, leave the major lane. If they want to pass over to the other part of the road, they will just drive through the waterways there and find their route towards the other side. What is the market tax force doing to stop that kind of?
We talked about mechanic village in Oka. I think you are in order, as if you knew. I have a proposal on that here, and the guy, they just started it at Delta, along that express. But coincidentally, the guy is from Anambra here, the developer. So he brought it here to us also, and I saw it as something that is desirable. So I went to visit them on site to see how it is. So I want to tell you that Rome was not built in a day. It's part of our plan. We, like you just said it now, but I've gone to see the one they are doing in Delta. So that shows you that we are trying to do something on that. Then you talked about building material, whether it will be relocated. That's the permanent site. It was under Governor Atta. That place was bought out for building material. If you go inside that market is in line with our master plan. Everything that has to do with building material. You have plumbing section, you have key section, you have ties, you have everything. But you know, our people are used to street trading, in as much as there's a law banning street trading. But what we need to do is not to relocate it. What we need to do is to go and develop it fully and enforce everybody on the street to move inside it. That's the master plan of Oka. So it's there, very large expanse of land. Even there are some encroachments on it, which I'm battling now. If you go there, you will see we have over 2,000 shops there that are unoccupied. While the people that are supposed to occupy it are on the street. So those are the challenges we are having. So I think that is we talked about building material market at this thing. It wasn't built by it was built by the traders. And when it was built, there are also markets around there. There is New Pass, there is Mbuka, and so on and so on. So other markets are equally coming up because business, whenever you have a high concentration of trade in a particular area, it becomes a catchment zone or center for other businesses. So that's why if we could have it as our commercial nerve center, just all we need as a state is just to go there and plan it well. And I think they are well planned because the markets that are there now, opposite that building material, you have bakery. So for us to decongest Onitsha, we have to, those traders are now moving out. So like you have Victoria Island, decongesting to Ajah area and also and so forth. So I think I understand what you're talking about. That we need to also decongest that place so we don't solve the problem at Onitsha and create it there again. And so we look at it. We look at it. Then you talked about driving through the drainage. I think that has to do with the mentality of our people. In a civilized world, how can somebody drive inside a drainage and come out again? So the cost of enforcement is very, very high. For you to keep somebody there, you're not keeping people at a junction or anywhere to control traffic. You are now going to keep people at a drainage. So that somebody will not drive into a drainage and come out again. It has to do with our people, the very ideology of our people is something we will keep to talk about, sensitize them. But the enforcement team, we do arrest them, but do you know that if you arrest them on Monday, in fact, if you arrest people by 1 o'clock and take them to the station, while you are at the station, other people are driving to that. So what we do normally is we go there and put some barricade and do this and that. That's another cost for the state. Just something normal compliance would have solved. So, but we are still doing our best. So we actually noticed it. And from time to time, we do arrest them. From time to time, we still go there to barricade. But sometimes at night, they will go and remove it. You know, so we are having a lot of challenges with our people, but by the special grace of God, we get it.
Main market, Onitsha main market, is one of the largest markets in West Africa. But when looking at it, you will see that it's too crowded. Yes. Walk and beg walk in the market. Is there a room for the industry? Is there a room for expansion?
main market is not only serving Anambra, it's serving the entire Africa. And as development spreads, every other thing spreads with it. Like today, initially we have only main market. Today we have Uchenna markets, also quite congested. The ShopRite is now there at Onitsha. Some people doesn't go to the market again, they go to ShopRite to buy what they want to buy. We can still do more, at least when the Urban is now here at Oka, the ShopRite at Oka, and then soon they will come up. The only way to decongest main market is to create alternative market for we here in Anambra State. But for those coming from outside the country or from other states, they will always access main market. So when we decongest that by providing other alternative markets in Anambra State, like when the main market at Oka here, which you talked about, comes up, and other areas, the markets will be decongested. But if you, for example, if you go to Asaba or Bogologo, they've tried everything to create their own market, but it only serves people staying in Asaba and Delta. But that main market is symbolic to traders from far and wide. They must want to access main market. I don't know why. So, and it is an advantage to us. So we will decongest it, but I don't think we will do that strategically.
I want to know if your ministry has taxes that traders pay that you can itemize. So at the beginning of every year, traders who want to pay, who don't want to be embarrassed by the touts on the street, can go to pay in the offices or in the banks and save the government the embarrassment that these touts cause them. You know, and then the second one, that's aside. You know, given your pedigree in government, you know, I want to know what your projections are for a greater Anambra. Now, you can take governance as a holistic enterprise. You know, you've served in not just this ministry. Given your ideas, the experience you've gathered all through, what do you think could be done to make Anambra even greater beyond Obiano?
That is why we always clamor for continuity. That is why His Excellency knows that 8 years is not enough for him to achieve all his visions. That was why he came up with the Vision 2070, which is a 50-year development plan for Anambra State. That means there are things he wanted to do, but due to paucity of funds and resources, he wasn't able to do that. And due to time also, there are projects that can take like 10, 15 years for you to complete. And there are things you must have to do simultaneously. That you have to do this one before you could go to the next step. So that's why everybody is clamoring for continuity. Whenever a government is performing, the slogan when they are leaving should be that you see people clamoring for continuity. But when they don't perform, people will be calling for change. So I think in Anambra today, people are calling for continuity because they want all these legacy projects not to be abandoned. So for we here in Anambra State, the airport, His Excellency is trying everything to make sure he completes it before he leaves, which from what I know of it, is going to be ready by the special grace of God. When that is done, we'll talk about, like I told you, the greatest thing we need, which is investing heavily in it now, is power. If we have 17 hours light in Anambra State, Anambra will turn to be like Dubai, because those are brothers in diaspora. We now have calls to talk about bringing back industries in Anambra State. And power will give you industries, and an industry will give you employment and every other thing and development. Because once you site an industry in a particular location, you need to build an industrial estate where those workers will live. And infrastructures will equally be provided through the employment and job opportunities, business opportunities everywhere. So for me, I will want the state to invest more in power. If you can have at least 17 hours light in Anambra State a day. If you can guarantee that, we are met. Because we have the potentials. We have everything we need. Our stakeholders are living in diaspora. So, but when you have that, most of them only come down to Anambra with very long convoys and troops of police, security and this and that, with their beautiful houses in the villages, without any investment in Anambra State. Abara Industrial Estate, go there, greater percentage of the industries that are owned by the Igbos, mainly Anambrarians. So, for me as a person, if I have to attend to our needs according to priority, in my scale of preference and table of value, I will put power first before any other thing. We have two types of markets in Anambra State. That was why I corrected my brother when he said something about it. One is government-built markets. Those are markets owned by the state. Another one is private markets. Private markets are markets that the traders bought the land on their own and build the infrastructure with the approval of the state. You don't just go and buy land and build. You have to get the approval of the state for us to do due diligence to everything, both ecological due diligence and other administrative and whatever. So a lot of things has to be done before we approve. Well, here in Anambra State, we pay for government market to have what we call storage fees, which is 4,800. We have traders levy, which is 3,000. We have development levy, which is 2,000. We have sanitation levy for each shop, which is 2,400. That amounts to 12,200 annually, a year. Once in a year you pay it for traders in Anambra State. Then for non-governmental markets, in the market owned by individuals, they don't pay storage, because that storage serves as a kind of ground rent. So for those that are not in government market, they don't pay storage. So they pay traders levy, development levy, and sanitation levy. So their own is 7,004. So why those in government markets are paying 12,002, those in privately built market are paying 7,400 annually? That does not have to do with their personal income tax. The Board of Internal Revenue is handling that very one. But under my watch, we are handling all these ones. That's what we are collecting now. We have a structure. No tout can go to collect this because we don't give out this to agents. The structure is that in every like in our market now, they have Lagos line. And Lagos line, they have a chairman, they have an executive at that Lagos line. So they have the manifest, Mr. Ifeanyi Okeke, shop A13. They will collect the money through their structure and pay directly into government account and take their 10%. But there must be a fee for rendering that services. So, for example, if they collect 1 million naira, 900,000 is for government, 100,000 are for the executive, for the services rendered. So what we are getting initially, they do pay directly to government account and come to ask for their 10%. Sometimes it doesn't happen exactly when it's supposed to happen, and that was bringing about issues. So we decided to take your 10% up front and pay indirectly. So nobody is collecting that for us. So even what the enforcement we are doing now is not for us to collect the money. It's for us to force them to go and pay into government account. Now that's the story. If you try for the money to pass from one person to the other, I cannot guarantee that it will get to government account untampered. So I can't guarantee that.
Here, for the first time, we are having someone who's been a part of the political process from the grassroots up to your present position. So we actually planned to ask you some questions away from your performance as commissioner, because we also need to know and gauge the temperature of the state politically, from actors like you who have been around. And that makes me go straight now to the question, which is, there is this growing feeling outside of Anambra State that Anambra is a difficult state to govern. And people who hold this view would easily point you to the Chris Ngige days and the difficulties he had. They would also point to Peter Obi's impeachment. And now we have a scenario in Anambra State at the moment where someone who just has a lot of money and who boasts a lot of connections in the right places has organized something like a mutiny, picking a few traditional rulers who represent, leadership at the lowest rungs to organize something that, we don't even know what name to call it in Abuja. Does this justify the belief that this is a very difficult state to govern? Or is it just a question of leadership not being able to impose itself on the environment in a manner that compares the respect and obedience of the people? That's one question. You have administered at the lowest rungs of governance. What is your view on leadership and Nigeria's development question?
I have a different view. I have a discordant view on what is going on in Anambra State pertaining to the issue of the stakeholder you were talking about and traditional rulers. Maybe because I've been here for long. I was here with the former governor, Peter Obi, when he was there, was the local main chairman then. Then luckily for me, either by merit or providence, I was the only one that was allowed as a TC chairman to transcend into elected chairman before His Excellency came in. Anambra political terrain is always heated up closer to the election because of the level of stakeholders we have here. When election is over, those stakeholders move to Abuja for their interests. When governorship election gets near, they come down here to see if they can structure down their interests here. So for me, it's a normal thing, and there are things we've seen in the past, so they are not new to us. It could be new to people that are just seeing it for the very first time. The important thing for us as a state is to make sure that the governor is in full control. And I can tell you authoritatively, the Excellency Governor Obiano is in full control. When you having served as a former commissioner for transport, the institution that controls the instrument of violence in the state has to do with the transport sector or the markets. Talking to you here, I'm the grand patron of the Okada Union in Anambra State, the grand patron of Kiki Union in Anambra State, grand patron of bus drivers in Anambra State, and today Commissioner for Trade and Commerce. And I can guarantee you that they are 100% loyal to His Excellency. If you want me to show that the Commissioner for Transport also is very strong, so if you want us to show that, let us do a solidarity march for His Excellency. You won't even see a space for you to walk around Anambra. So that somebody is trying to do some funny things to us. For us, we see all those things as semantic. I don't take it serious. Somebody is trying to be semantic, so I'm not interested in that. I can only be worried if something is affecting the popularity of His Excellency. But I can tell you that his popularity is even going higher than what it was. So let's not give credence to that issue, because the more you talk about it, the more you give it credence. I can tell you, something is quite certain in Anambra State. I'm a political scientist, so I understand ethnicity, the concept of ethnicity and politics in Nigeria. So that's why I think for us as a people, we have to put our house first in order. Nigeria is a multi-ethnic dimensional country that forgets, no matter what you say or what you think, in the issue of one Nigeria, which we all believe in. But there is need for us to go back as a region. For us here in Anambra State, I want to commend our people for what we've done for some time, because sticking to a particular political party that sees the interests of our region as their priority, I think it's quite good. Because it gives us a platform for us to think alike, have a platform where we can stay as like minds and talk about. Tinubu started in the southwest, got the southwest, the southwest first of all, and had a very strong bargaining power to be able to go to the central. Buhari started in the north with his CPC and so on and so forth, with their northern ideology, and has to go to Maja with APC and some other political parties to be able to get what they want. When he was contesting, he contested the election under CPC or ANPP. I mean, Buhari or ANPP more than 5 times because he lost. It was when he went into Maja that he was able to win the election. So I think it's good for us from the southeast to consolidate and go to the national as a team, as a consolidated team. And the only platform through which we can do that is ABGA. If Tinubu started with AD, then to ACN, from there to APC, Buhari started with CPC, ANPP, then to APC, we need to go back home and think about what we can do from here to have a common platform to be able to challenge what is happening in the center, and also to have a very strong bargaining power.
We are headed towards a major election next year. There are undercurrents with respect to how Abga is seen as a family. How strong is the family? What are the underlying moves that have been made to make sure that the united front that has shown in the past 16 years is not lost? What is the position of the party with respect to the jostling? There is, if you may, some level of breathing down from various opposition channels, which ties back to what you said about some attempt to distract. So what reassurance can you give first the members of the party who have been hesitant?
I will continue to advise us to keep the faith. Let's keep the faith. No election is easy. We've never gone into any election with the impression that we will win 100%. Every election comes with its own challenge. Quite also this coming election. For us as a party, I think the problem I'm seeing in other parties are even more dangerous than what I'm seeing in my own party. Today we have an executive that has no matter in court, and nothing is sub judice in Abga. But I think our opposition, I read on newspaper every day and social media, court cases and counter court cases. Also, what determines an election is majorly is the performance of the sitting government. And this has performed wonderfully well. We will continue working, but I think the coast is clear that in the next election we will come out quite victorious. Mind you, we have the sitting governor. We have about 90% of members of House of Assembly representing the constituencies in Anambra State. We have the local government chairman, all of them in Anambra State. We have the councillors, the TC members, in all the wards in Anambra State, all Abga people. We have the commissioners, Abga. We have the special advisors, Abga. We have the MDs of parastatals, Abga. We have the SAs and SSAs and DAs, Abga. So, politically, what other structure do we need? So all we need is inwardly, within ourselves, commitment, honesty, and dedication. What I kept telling people is this: you need to be in the corridors of power to be able to negotiate your interests. if you're outside, don't even have power of negotiation. Like David Easton in his system analysis, you have to be within that black box for you to be able to talk, okay, today, an APC or PDP member is not dreaming of becoming a transition chairman. He's not dreaming of becoming a special advisor or commissioner or SA or SSA. So what gave you the first platform for you to be able to aspire or vie or expect or dream of this is because your party is in power. So let us collectively come together and forget our differences and deliver the next governor of Abga extraction. Then before, most times, those were, Governor Peter was governor here. Those that were commissioners under him were not commissioners under this administration. Those that were local government chairmen under him were not in this administration. So the next governor, let's have hope that if he, the governor cannot give everybody at the same time. He has limited resources and limited opportunities and limited appointments to make. This is the governor has given more appointments of SSAs and SAs like never before in Anambra State. That is, whether you like it or not, whether no matter how they want to give dog a bad name to hang it, that is another employment and empowerment for our people. So what we need to do within ourselves is to just come together, have that determination that let us kill this elephant, first of all. And then the second thing will be talking about how to share it. But we have to carry the elephant before we can share.
We'll certainly come back because you are a man of many parts. You are a man that has a lot of experience ingrained in governance, and of course, you have exhibited quite remarkable streak of excellence in this region. Therefore, we say again, welcome. But then to give vote of thanks will be a lady who has in some way endeared himself to the media practitioners. Yeah.
Uchenna, thank you so much. On behalf of the governor's media team, we want to appreciate you not just for making out the time to come and give us an update of what's going on in your ministry, but also giving us an insightful and explicit viewpoint of what Anambra State is doing in terms of commerce and transportation. When we had this meeting, we were trying to pick first the commissioners that we knew was visibly performing in their ministry. Nobody need to tell you, you could see all the work you have done. So thank you so much for being dedicated to it.